Hello, I am your teacher, Mr. Pacitti, and this is my classroom here in Long Island, New York. So put away your mobile phones, put away your nice and spicy knickknacks. Not topical, just had a pack for breakfast. Delicious. It's time to concentrate, it's time to study. This is Raw, and this is Graded. We kick things off backstage in the parking lot, and Triple H has just arrived and he's got a whole bloody convoy of cars behind him. I wonder who's in there. What's he gonna do tonight, the big beardy cheeky monkey? No time to wonder. Let's go to ringside and welcome Paul Heyman and the WWE Champion Brock Lesnar. Heyman does his usual shtick, reinforces the point that Brock Lesnar has indeed quit SmackDown and he is here on Raw to hunt Rey Mysterio. He says that Brock Lesnar is better than every single one of you. He is better than all them bitches in the back. And Brock Lesnar wants to know, where's Rey? Somebody has to know, where is Rey Mysterio? Because tonight is the funeral of Rey Mysterio's career. I've really paraphrased here, but it was a great promo, as you would expect from one of the best talkers in the business, if not the best. And actually, it was kind of nice to have Brock out there with Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman not just selling Brock's match at the next pay-per-view because Brock can't be asked to turn up, so Heyman has to do it, and instead furthering some storyline that factors into the very show that we're watching. So that was a nice welcome change. This one gets an A-. Again, sure, it's another promo to open up an episode of Raw, but it was short, it was sweet. No longer does it seem that we're getting these 15-20-minute promos that used to open up every episode of Raw. They're being kept short, they're being kept to sort of 5 or 6 minutes, they're concise, and this really did its job. Oh, before we continue, we go backstage and Brock Lesnar is trashing lots and lots of members of staff. He's just battering absolutely everybody because he's hunting Rey Mysterio. Think of him as WWE's Elmer Fudd. I'm hunting wabbits. Waybits. Should have thought about that before I started talking. Back to the ring, and it's time for some action. It's the women's tag champions taking on Charlotte Flair and Natalya in non-title action. And the tag champs, Asuka and Kairi Sane, they get jobber entrance. You don't see them come out, but Charlotte and Natalya, despite the fact that they've seemingly been thrown together for absolutely no reason, they get proper entrances. It's not fair. It's just not fair. Quite enjoyed this match. It starts off slow with a solid bit of chain wrestling between Kairi Sane and Natalya, and then Charlotte comes in, she takes control, we go to break, we come back from break, and the heels are in control, beating down Natalya. Natty finally manages to make the hot tag. In comes Charlotte with a big flurry of offense. She nails a moonsault for a near fall. She tags back in Natalya, who fairly quickly gets locked in an armbar by Asuka, and it looks like she's about to tap maybe, but no, she manages to wriggle her way out, transition into a sharpshooter, which is then broken up by Kairi Sane, for a bit anyway. Yeah, Asuka gets locked in the sharpshooter once again, and Kairi tries to make the save, but she gets taken out with a big spear from Charlotte Flair, and Asuka taps out to the sharpshooter. Asuka taps out to Natalya. This one gets a B+. The match itself I did enjoy, but I'm not really convinced on the result of this one. Asuka and Kairi Sane got together like 6 months ago now, and then they weren't used on TV for ages. They're back, they've won the gold, great. And now they're losing clean to a team which has seemingly just been thrown together for absolutely no reason. I don't quite get it, and I especially don't want to see Asuka tapping out to the sharpshooter. I think that's a bit much. It would be so easy to just give them heelish wins. It still protects Charlotte and Natalya, if that's what WWE are worried about. I didn't quite get this, but the match itself was good. I guess WWE are probably concerned about the lack of roster depth with regard to the women's tag team scene on Raw, and I agree, I think that is a problem, and that's probably why Natalya and Charlotte have been thrown together, but I also feel like the focus should very much be on Asuka and Kairi Sane and really hammering home the fact that they are a proper team. They're a cohesive unit, especially after they've not been on TV in a consistent way for so long. After the match, Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar come out once again. They're still hunting waybits. It definitely works. They approach the commentary table and Paul Heyman starts threatening Lawler, saying, hey, you know everything. Where is Rey Mysterio? If you don't tell me, if you don't find out where Rey Mysterio is, I'm going to set my beast on you. And this time, when you die on TV, nobody's going to resuscitate you. Heavy stuff. I liked it a lot. So who defends Jerry the King Lawler's honor? It's Dio Madden, the absolute fool. He squares up to Lesnar, he quickly eats an F5 through the announce table, and then Brock Lesnar makes his way back onto the ramp, outruns Rey Mysterio. He's got a baseball bat and he starts clobbering Brock Lesnar in the legs again and again and again with the baseball bat, and then he grabs the title and nails Brock in the face, and this was splendid. We cut to backstage. Rey Mysterio is still all out of breath after what he's just done, and he says that, Brock, you came after what was important to me. At Survivor Series, I'm coming after what is important to you. I'm going to take the WWE title. We've got our championship match at Survivor Series. So because of this, let's up the earlier Brock Lesnar grade to an A. Paul Heyman came across as a horrible man, a proper malicious prick here. It was fantastic. Brock got taken down in spectacular fashion because Rey outsmarted him with a big bit of metal or fiberglass or wood. I'm no expert. And I think it's safe to say that this is the most excited that I've felt about Rey Mysterio since his return. Back to the ring, no entrances for either of these two men. It's Buddy Murphy taking on Cedric Alexander, and this was a fun little sprint. We know that these two work together incredibly well from their time on 205 Live, and even though they weren't given a huge amount of time in this match, they still managed to impress. Couple of nice dives by Cedric, some stiff strikes by Buddy Murphy. It's pretty much exactly what you'd imagine from a match featuring these two guys on Raw. Cedric's Michinoku driver is terrific. He really, really is very, very good at that particular maneuver. He also managed to reverse Murphy's Law the first time around, but got hit with it the second time around. Buddy Murphy picking up the win, and a B. I like the match. The experience factor very much at play. It felt like because of the experience that they'd had together, that both men were able to outsmart each other multiple times in the match. But I definitely like the result. Buddy Murphy is the new guy on Raw, and so it's right for him to be picking up the win here. I just hope this little push continues. And next, it's time to bloody burn it down. Let's burn it down, boys and girls. Seth Rollins is out next. He's getting a fair few boos because he's bad at press interviews and he's bad at Twitter and he's quite bad at babyface promos as well. That's not fair. That's not fair. He was good here. He says that he doesn't care that the WWE Universe are happy that The Fiend beats him at Crown Jewel, and then he gets a massive pop for that. Not cheering Seth, cheering the fact that The Fiend won. And then he goes on to say that he feels that things have been rewound by like a year. With Brock Lesnar back on Raw with the top belt, he feels like it was all for nothing and he doesn't know what's next for Seth Rollins. He is then interrupted by Daddy Full Sail. The game himself, Triple H, comes to the ring. He shakes Seth's hand. Fair play to him. And then he goes, "You don't know what's next for Seth Rollins." Well, whenever that happens, it seems like our paths cross. Tripp says that maybe you need to retrace your past, and then he brings up Seth's time as NXT champion, Seth's time in the Shield, Seth's time as WWE champion, and they all come back in some way to Triple H. He says that, Seth, you may not know what is next for you, but me, Triple H, I think I know what is next for you. NXT is on fire right now, and Triple H is the man who knows how to make Seth Rollins great. So you're either here with him in this moment, and then out come the Undisputed Era. You're either here with him, or you're against him. What is Seth Rollins going to do? Well, there's no time to find out because he is interrupted by the OC, who are here to defend Raw's honor and chase away those rapscallions, the Undisputed Era. And the Undisputed Era, they start backing away, which I thought was weird because if you include Triple H, Big Daddy Trips in the ring, they've got the numbers advantage here, but they start backing away. Doesn't matter. It was all a ruse. It was all a trap to begin with because Dominic Dijakovic and Damian Priest attack the OC from behind, and then loads of the Raw roster who look rubbish in comparison, by the way. It's like Hawkins, Ryder, R-Truth. No offense to Truth, but come on. Truth, Undisputed. There's a big brawl. So Team NXT are eventually chased away by Team Not As Good, and that leaves Seth in the ring. He walks up the ramp. Whose side is he on? Well, we might be about to find out. We cut backstage, and Rollins approaches Triple H and says, well, if you want me in NXT, I don't want to come in as the former Universal Champion. I want to come in as the top guy. Give me an NXT Championship match tonight. And the match is set. Main event tonight, Adam Cole versus Seth Rollins for the NXT title. I love this. It gets an A. I may be going a little bit overboard here, but it sort of feels like we're getting an Invasion Angle redo. And this time it might actually be quite good. Like, I sort of wish this had started ages ago, And it was all leading up to Survivor Series, or hopefully maybe it'll go past Survivor Series, because it's such compelling viewing, and Survivor Series is only a few weeks away, and I want this to go on forever. Forever! Also, I like the fact that it was the OC who were the ones who came out to save Seth Rollins. Even though Rollins is a babyface, and the OC are heels, they care more about brand loyalty. They're more invested in defending Raw. And that's something that's been really lacking, I guess, since all of the wildcard bollocks and all that. And I like the fact that Seth Rollins, you couldn't tell where his head was at by the end of the segment. Even following the interview, the promo with Triple H backstage, still couldn't quite work out Seth's motivations, what he was going to do. As I say, it was compelling viewing. It kept me watching until the end, and not just because it's my job. Good stuff. Next up, it's mixed tag team action as Andrade and Zelina Vega take on Cara and his new little buddy, Catalina, some are saying. It's spelled Carolina or Carolina. Right, decent match here, but with a confusing result. I'm going to keep the recap pretty short on this one. Andrade lays into Cara immediately as soon as the bell rings, but then Carolina takes out Andrade on the outside with a senton. Back from the break, and the heels are very much in control, but then the tag is made. In comes Zelina Vega and Carolina. They go at it for a little bit. Carolina scoring a near fall following a pinfall attempt, which Andrade breaks up. There's a nice offense from Zelina Vega. She really impressed last night, I felt, and then she hits a basement Rana and picks up the win. And that's the match. Like, I love Andrade. I love the pairing of Andrade and Zelina Vega. I think they're great together. But I can't give this anything more than a C. The match itself was pretty good. It wasn't bad at any point. However, the booking, the finish is just perplexing. Carolina debuted last week and Cara lost, so she's a crap manager. This week, mixed tag action. She loses. She takes the pin. So she's a crap wrestler too. Obviously, I'm oversimplifying massively here, but if you bring a wrestler in and then just have them lose immediately, it's very difficult to get invested. It's very difficult to care when they do lose. It feels very backwards, a backwards way to kick off this feud. And I'll also say that I don't think Carolina was especially good last night. It sort of felt like she was wrestling at 0.75 speed. Maybe they don't want to continue this feud. Maybe she needs a little bit more time in NXT. I don't know. Quick Rusev promo next. He opens saying, "I'm sure you'll agree with me when I say that tonight is the night to end all of this stupid drama." To a huge pop. He gets it. He says, "Bob Lashley, if you want Lana, she's all yours. But your ass is mine." But no, the drama doesn't look to be ending anytime soon as Bob Lashley walks out. He's on crutches. He has not been medically cleared to compete tonight. In fact, he's tore his groin doinking Lana. So instead of Rusev versus Bobby, we get Rusev versus Drew McIntyre, because when you're Team Flair, I guess you're Team Flair for life. This was alright. It was nothing special, perfectly serviceable, but nothing to write home about either. Largely back and forth throughout, just a couple of big old brutes going at it. It lasts like 6 or 7 minutes, and then they start scrapping on the outside. Bob Lashley runs down the ramp. He's not injured at all, the bastard. He hits Rusev, he attacks Rusev, which causes the DQ, and Drew McIntyre's just like, okay, he walks away. Job done. So it looks like Bobby Lashley is about to beat down Rusev quite a lot in the ring, but then Rusev manages to counter. He grabs the crutch and he's going to nail Bobby Lashley when all of a sudden in slides Randall Keith, RKO, and bloody hell, I joked earlier, but Team Flair really is for life. What is going on? Randy and Bobby are about to go to town and absolutely batter Rusev when all of a sudden out runs Ricochet to make the save, and he does so, and Team Hogan is alive and well too. Forget the NXT stuff. Forget Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT. Give us what we really want. Give us Team Flair versus Team Hogan 2 at Survivor Series. I can't bloody wait. Seriously though, this wasn't very good at all. It gets a C-, which is a generous grade, and I'll explain why in just a second. It reeks of WWE not knowing what to do with any of the guys involved. Like, at all. And my real concern here is that with the focus very much being on Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT, this might be dragged out past Survivor Series. This could go on for a lot longer than I think we thought it may be. No, I don't want to think about it. I just don't want to think about it. Let me tell you the reason that I gave it the C-. So the reason is, and maybe I'm clutching at straws here, is because Ricochet was the man who made the save. For so long, Ricochet has been billed as WWE's resident superhero, and apart from doing some sort of Spider-Man-y flips and cosplaying at big pay-per-views. He doesn't really do anything superhero-y. But here was different. Here he is saving a babyface in peril. And I quite like that. The babyface about to be attacked by some horrible men, and Ricochet zip lines in. I mean, he didn't use the zip line, but he comes. It's like Spider-Man. It's like Batman. It's like Superman. Probably. I don't watch those films, but I think that's what happens in them. He's living up to the name. I'm a generous man, aren't I? Next up, we go backstage for one of those sit-down interviews, this time with the Raw Women's Champion, Becky Lynch. Becky says that she very much has a target on her back at Survivor Series because she took out Sasha Banks, and that's Bayley's mate, and she took out Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania, and that's Shayna Baszler's mate. Speaking of which, hello, Shayna. Shayna very calmly goes, Charlie, do you mind if I just take your seat there? And she sits down, looks Becky Lynch square in the eyes and says, I'm not Ronda Rousey. And at Survivor Series, I'm going to either pin you or I'm going to make you tap out. Becky replies saying, just like the countless women who have challenged her before you, Shayna Baszler, warring with Becky Lynch will change you. They stand up, face to face, and Becky says, at Survivor Series, I'm coming directly for you. Stare down, fade to black. Beautiful. I love this. It gets an A. It was so organic. You just believed every word that came out of either woman's mouth. It felt real. It felt completely real. It was super intense. It didn't drag at any point. It lasted like 2.5 minutes, but that's all it needed. It was the perfect length for this segment, which was wonderful. Really wonderful. I do hope they do something with Bayley on SmackDown, because at the moment, she feels a bit of a third wheel. That's fine at this point, but I think it's something that needs addressing. But for what it was, this segment, perfect. 6-man tag action up next. The OC taking on Humberto Carrillo and the Street Profits. We get a nice bit of verbal sparring before the match begins, but that was perhaps the highlight. The match itself, it was pretty average. The first half of this match is just the OC isolating Montez Ford, beating him down. They attack him on the outside, being all heely. A little bit later, Humberto Carrillo comes in. He scores a nice near fall following a moonsault, which Anderson breaks up. But that's pretty much it. Long story short, AJ nails Humberto with a powerbomb, and then AJ gets his feet up on the rope for leverage and gets the win. Nah. This gets a C. It very much feels like WWE want to put the focus back on the OC in the build to Survivor Series, and unfortunately Street Profits and Humberto Carrillo they've been casualties of that, which is a shame because before last night, and even during like the promo, the verbal sparring before the match, people were super into Humberto and they were super into the Street Profits. So this is a bit of a shame, but whatever. Needs must, I guess. Viking Raiders versus the Polo Boys is up next. There's some jobbers. The Viking Raiders beat them in a minute or so, and why are these still happening? Why are these still happening? I'm fed up of talking about them. This gets a D. After the match, Hampton and Rowe get on the mics, and they put on their best wrestler voices as they say, hey, we're man enough to admit that we lost a crown jewel. Well, OC, you enjoy your trophy. You may have won one battle, but you'll never stop the reign. Alright, whatever. Main event time, and the NXT title is on the line as Seth flippin' Rollins challenges for Adam Cole's NXT Championship. And this was bloody good. Not quite as good as Cole Bryan from SmackDown. That's just personal preference. Sorry, Seth, don't slag me off on Twitter. It felt like neither man was truly able to get the upper hand in this one, which is perfect booking because Adam Cole needs to be presented as a top guy in the run-up to Survivor Series. That's exactly what happened here. I'm not going to run down all of the spots or anything, but we saw counter after counter, we saw near falls, we saw all of the signature spots that we would expect to see from these two guys. And then at the end, the crowd are getting really hot at this point. Seth maybe looks like he's got it in the bag when all of a sudden the Undisputed Era run out, causing the DQ. I think it was O'Reilly hit Seth with a knee. But the match was called off and, you bastards. But then the OC run out and we got a big old bloody lovely brawl. We then get more NXT guys, more Raw guys. They're all brawling all over the place. They brawl to the outside and then Ricochet hits a springboard shooting star press. That was great. And then Keith Lee, big old Keith Lee, runs and does a diving senton thing. That was absolutely class too. He nails that just as Lawler shouts down the microphone. The hard sell for NXT. What will happen on NXT this week? fade to black. This match gets a B+. We got a little glimpse, just a little taster of what we can expect maybe from Adam Cole and Seth Rollins at a later date. I'm not upset that this ended in DQ. That needs to be saved for a grander stage because it's going to be absolutely fantastic. It's a great sell for NXT as well, especially with their declining ratings. Like, this couldn't have come at a better time. I'm going to be tuning into NXT Live this week, which I would have probably watched on tape delay, because I want to see exactly what happens. I'm excited for NXT. And speaking of excitement, Survivor Series is coming up, and this is the most excited I've been about Survivor Series in a long time. Overall, this episode of Raw gets a B+. I liked most of what I saw last night. Sure, the Rusev stuff isn't great. The Viking Raiders squash match, who cares? The six-man tag wasn't fantastic, but the stuff that was good was really, really good. I loved the Brock Ray stuff. I loved the continuation of the NXT invasion. That's fascinating. And a big shout out to Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler for that backstage interview segment, which was just so intense, so fantastic. Well done. Good episode of Raw. Oh, and before we go, I said I wasn't going to acknowledge them, but here we are once again. Please stop making nasty comments about my moustache, especially saying that it looks like I'm wearing one of those joke shop Groucho Marx disguise things, you know, with the glasses, the nose and the moustache all in one thing. Look, real glasses, real moustache, real nose. So leave me alone. Speaking of noses, why can't a nose be 12 inches long? Because then it'd be a foot. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. You can follow us on Twitter at Cultaholic. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Cultaholic. And most importantly, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us.